की पेशकश।
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight now, we bring you discussion on capital acquisition proposals for modernization of armed forces and the Indian Coast Guard. The participants are Major General Ashok Kumar, Defence Analyst, and Rajesh, Leikh, Anchor.
The Defence Acquisition Council under the chairmanship of Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh has accorded approval for acceptance of necessity for various capital acquisition proposals amounting to 84,560 crore. Major General Ashok Kumar, in the true spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat, the approvals have been accorded, which lay special emphasis on procurement of various equipment from Indian vendors. We would like you to elaborate what are the most pressing needs that these modernization proposals aim to address.
That's a very, very important question. The proposal which has been cleared, it should not be given the weightage only because of the value involved. That is, it is 84,560 crores, or you can say close to 1 lakh crore. But more so because of the type of equipment which is going to be procured, the method of procurement as to how it is empowering the Indian manufacturers, and also certain amendments which have been done in the Defence Acquisition Procedure 2020 to empower startups and MSMEs. So to start with, I shall cover initially the type of equipments which have been cleared, because these are going to have wide-ranging impacts on our warfighting strategy in days to come. Firstly, for the army, I shall cover only the important aspects. One is that the new generation anti-tank mines have been included in this proposal. While we all know that the tank versus tank battle is going to be a common norm on our western front with Pakistan, but the possibility of it was earlier lesser on the Chinese front because of the terrain considerations. But with the infrastructure development and development of light tanks coming to the fore, the tank-to-tank battle on northern front with China cannot be ruled out. And it was very, very important for India to prepare itself for such a threat. And therefore, new generation anti-tank mines are going to be a game changer. The second item which has been procured for army is the air defense tactical control radars. We all know that in today's time, the use of missiles, aircraft, the drones, swarm drones, and such large number of aerial-based platforms are utilized for warfighting. It is happening in Russia and Ukraine. It is happening between Hamas and Israel. It is happening in the disruption which is being caused in the Red Sea, and it can happen anywhere else in the world. In such a situation, it is very important that the incoming threat is detected in time so that the response mechanism is activated. And towards this, the decision of the government to procure air defense tactical control radars is very, very important. It will be in a position to now gain intelligence about the incoming threat, and so that the response mechanism can be included. Third on the Army's list is software-defined radios. This is something which is not only doing good for Army, but for Air Force and Navy as well, because this will be good method of communication in an integrated way of functioning towards which we are moving at the moment. And not only at the national level, even in the international era, when we are going to operate with other countries, the software-defined radios will be a game changer for having interoperability in the communication between various fighting forces of different countries. This procurement council has not limited itself only to meet the Army's requirement alone. It has looked at the serious challenges or the responsibilities which has to be handled by the Navy, Air Force, and not only by them but also by the Coast Guard as well. They have taken them also along with this, which is a very, very welcome change.
Very important is that the air defense system, especially the capabilities to detect slow, small and low-flying targets as surveillance, detection and tracking of different targets have also been included.
Absolutely, because with the emerging trend, most of the incoming threats try to move at low level to avoid the detection. So there was a need of addressing this gap in technological manner, and therefore these radars are going to be a game changer, as I highlighted.
You mentioned what has been ordered by the army. I just wanted to find out on the operational efficiency and domination of the tactical battle area for engaging targets that are beyond visual line of sight by the mechanized forces. So, what are we doing to equip them?
See, if you see the entire procurement, there is a increased focus for the surveillance for the Navy also, for the Air Force also, for the Army also. And the Air Force and Army radars invariably are operated in an integrated manner so that there is a gap-free coverage. The long range surveillance is obtained by the AWACS based platforms where it is going high in the air, and from that long range inputs before the aircraft takes up by the opposing country, that can be found out. Of course, the satellite surveillance, the surveillance by the higher end UAVs like Heron categories, they are the also used for beyond the line of sight range to gain the information about the adversary's aerial platforms. Earlier we get the information, the activation of the response mechanism is that much effective, and that is the direction in which the current proposals and modernization is moving.
We're talking about the air defense tactical control radar that is under by category.
So next, the as far as Navy is concerned, they have gone for heavyweight torpedoes and also the medium range maritime recce and multi-mission maritime aircraft also to be procured. The importance of Indo-Pacific, in which the Indian Ocean, including the Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, is included, is well known to all of us. And enhancing role of Navy is something which cannot be actually questioned by anybody. We have also seen in the recent event where the even merchant shipping was targeted by the pirates and as well as the Houthi rebels. Indian Navy rose to the occasion, and it not only helped its own nationals but also even its opposing nationals of people from Pakistan. So in coming days, the requirement of Navy to have a very, very wide canvas, long range reconnaissance and the capacity building is very, very important. And this acquisition fills up that gap, really speaking. Coming to the Air Force, we have now modern aircraft like Rafale, and LCA is also being built up with modern technology in a big way. But for having long range capacity where we can conduct transnational operations, the flight refueler aircraft were needed in large numbers. We have been so far dependent on IL-78, which is Russian-based aircraft, meeting this requirement as of now. But our requirement is of a far superior resource and which it has currently approved. And these are currently available with the US Army and the Western countries. So these will be also coming to us. But besides the type of equipment, Rajesh ji, I shall just highlight, the entire focus is on the Indian vendors. In fact, except one item which talks of the supply chain management and the repair and recovery, every other procurement is on IDDM category, that is indigenously designed, developed and manufactured. It is going to be designed in India, it is going to be developed in India, it is going to be manufactured in India, and that is how the entire Indian vendors are going to be benefited. So this will take Atmanirbharta to a new level altogether, and everything will change. Another very, very important decision which they have taken this time is the change in the Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020. While over a period of time, certain amendments have been carried out in Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020, but the modern needs which were required to be supported, especially for the startups and MSMEs, that was falling short of it. And the capacity to go in for the modern technology and fast track procurements, that was not happening the way it should happen. While the government came out with the concept of IDEX and technology development fund schemes, but these also could not result in the practical implementation of most of the capacities getting materialized because of the process constraints, because we were looking towards these new thoughts with the previous parameter. But now in this, they have made major changes in the processes. The benchmarking norms have been changed, cost computation has been changed, payment schedules have been changed, and procurement quantity has also been modified. It is going to help empower startups as well as MSMEs in a manner that they do not only get the business initially, but they are able to get it in a sustained basis. Their financial challenges are also going to be addressed to a large extent with this changed procedure. So I believe that in coming days, new ecosystem will emerge, and majority of our startups and MSMEs will be able to leverage their capacities for the national good.
So, as you said, we are creating a friendly defense startup ecosystem and promoting procurement of advanced technologies from startups, MSMEs developed under the Innovations for Defense Excellence and Technology Development Fund schemes. And this is one thing that is going to enhance the capability of our armed forces. Back to the procurements, what is there in store for the Indian Coastal Guard?
Earlier, our approach of employment of resources were little different nationally. The Coast Guard was responsible for the maritime border surveillance in a manner, and Navy was supposed to be operate beyond the role of Coast Guard for conduct of active operations. But there is a lot of area and commonality, and both the forces cannot be seen differently. We have to have an optimized output of their respective capacities, their resources, and empowerment has also to be of a similar level. When we are going to have the medium range maritime recce and multi-dimension maritime aircraft, the recce components are also going to be aiding the Coast Guard so that it is able to see the coming threat both during peace and war, can operate in an interoperable manner with the Navy for response whatever needed, whether it is for assistance or whether it is for neutralization of the adverse threat.
We'll also talk about how important is it for the modernization plans to prioritize indigenous defense manufacturing and technological self-reliance. General Ashok, if you could throw some light on that.
You will be aware that still some time back, our defense imports close to 80% of our equipment being imported, bulk of which was being imported from Russia. In fact, we were at times even the second largest importer in the world as far as defense equipment is concerned. Now, such a situation cannot be sustained not only from the economic consideration, but because of the fast changing geopolitical situation. Today, we have Russia, which has got involved in the Ukraine war. It has got its own challenges. And despite its desire to help continue India, it is not able to meet the ideal requirements. Similarly, Russia-Ukraine war, Hamas-Israel war, and elsewhere. So finally, a situation has to come where the country has to have the wherewithal to fight the war from its own resources. And for India, it is most important because India is not bordered by friendly countries. Pakistan is an adversarial nation. China is an adversarial nation. And those attitudes are not going to go by the way they have existed for close to more than 50, 60 years. And therefore, India has to create capacities to respond to the threats emanating from these nations either individually or in a collusive manner. And for that, entire manufacturing has to be in India. So while desire may be there, but then it is not a really simple job to do because the countries don't share their technology. The indigenous technology development takes time. It may not be the best, and there are challenges related to the kind of material, kind of machining, and other related issues. So India has also come up with the concept of the positive indigenization lists, 5 of them, wherein it is listing out the items which cannot be procured from outside beyond a point. Okay. It is now focusing more on the TOT and then manufacturing in India. It is also okay for the defense vendors to open their manufacturing in India, which they can use for selling either to the Indian Defense Forces or for any other country. Fine. But sooner or later, we want to have a full indigenous defense forces. We have moved a lot in this particular field, whether it is a shipbuilding or the aircraft carrier or the guns which have been made by Bharat Forge and aircraft helicopters by the HAL.
Certainly.
A lot of happening.
Thank you so very much for your inputs, and here's hoping that the modernization efforts will impact the overall defense posture and readiness of India in the region. Thank you so much for your contribution, General Ashok. Thank you for being with Akashvani.
Thank you, Rajesh.
You were listening to a discussion on capital acquisition proposals for modernization of armed forces and the Indian Coast Guard. The participants were Major General Ashok Kumar, Defense Analyst, and Rajesh, Leikh, Anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official.